Recording. Right, we're all set. It's Daniel Vieira. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ian. It's glad to be back.
Yeah, it's been quite a while actually. Been in the chat room almost every week, but it's been a while since you've actually had it on the show.
It's been a little while.
So I'm glad you could join us today because there's no Gary and our Andrew. I think Andrew's in the Olympic dance competition.
Yeah, I think he is. I think I saw him tweeting some photos of the back areas earlier on, so I think I was trying to keep an eye out for him. I couldn't see him there.
I think it's on one of the very obscure channels.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I'm not sure where Gary is. I think he said he had a power cut, so he's probably trying to stop his freezer from defrosting or whatever. So I'm glad you could join us tonight because there's a few things that I wanted to chat. Obviously, there's been a few items this week. It's been fairly quiet, but one of the things you've been doing quite a bit with Linux, Media Portal, and XBMC. So I wanted to try and touch on those and sort of talk about the kind of stuff you've been doing on there. So before we get to those, just tell us what systems you were running with when you I know because I know you were using Media Center.
Yeah, I was using Media Center for probably about a year or so now again, because I stopped using it for a while and I just went to using Virgin for a bit, but then I got fed up with that because it just kept. It wasn't as smooth as I was expecting it to be in the end. So I thought, I'm going to give Media Center another go. So I've got no extenders in the house anymore. I used to run with extenders, but I've switched over to a couple of little net boxes and a main Media Center doing all the legwork. And it's been running great for a while. You know, I was running the DVB Link, which was a great product. It was working pretty well, and that was mostly for the TV stuff. Before that, I was using XBMC for everything else, like rips and streaming and things like that. And obviously, I've got a couple of portable devices in the house. We have iPads and iPhones and an Android tablet. So everything sort of worked pretty well all together with that. A little while back, we started to get a few little niggles with Media Center and everything and DVB Link. A few people have been having some issues, like Jason's been having some issues. I didn't get as many as him in terms of like the play ready areas. I do get it now and again, but I was getting a lot of pixelation and things like that. So one of the things I was looking to do, because I'm a bit of a tinkerer, I was just trying to see what other options were out there. And obviously being an XBMC user anyway, I had a little dabble in that to see what the state of the sort of live TV and EPG systems they've got for that. But they're not. I personally, in my opinion, they're not quite there yet. You know, I do use Linux as well as Windows, but I found it very, very, very fiddly to get all the drivers and stuff working. You have to compile drivers for TV cards and things like that. So I tried a couple of different Linux options, but they didn't really work out for me.
Right.
So kept looking, and I saw there were, Windows is still the best system to use for, in my opinion, at least for live TV, using for live TV cards and things like that. So I had a look to see what else there was available, and I came across Media Portal, which I had tried before. But it's come a long way since then. So that's where I am at the minute. So now I'm using Media Portals, basically almost exclusively replaced a lot of the stuff I was doing on XBMC as well, which I can get into in a bit.
So you can use Media Portals so really for the live TV stuff and recorded TV.
Yes. It's got the way a Media Portal works is it's got a back end and a front end. So you've got the TV server part, which is it's all a 2-foot interface. It's not like Media Center where you can do it via the remote. You do it on the PC, and basically then you can install a client. Now the beauty of that is obviously it keeps it separate, and you basically get for TV and recordings, you're basically getting a totally proper soft-led experience. Which is pretty handy. So you basically can do all your setup in once, And then as long as you can link up to the server, you get an identical experience with every device, PC, and that you hook up to it.
Right. Yeah. That's right. I quite like the idea of having a server box and then sort of client machines like extenders, but actually have the full functionality, so they've not got the restrictions.
Well, that's it. And there's a couple of decent features about it as well. Well, obviously, one is the installation is very straightforward. Once you have a quick scan of the instructions, it's pretty straightforward to do. Getting your tuners set up and marrying channels together from, if you've got more than one tuner. It does. If you've got identical tuners, it'll marry those up automatically for you. And so I'm running a DVB-S2 and tuner and a dual DVB-T2 tuner, and it was very straightforward. So you got that, and then when you want to fiddle about with the channels, it's so easy to do because you can basically just go in, fiddle about. Say you want to change the order of them or add channels, take channels away. You can do that in literally seconds, and then you boot up your client app, and it's all there. It's all changed.
Right.
Also, another great feature that I've found, there's people, because it's an open source project. There's lots of people working on different builds, and there's an actual build that works with pulling all the FreeSat EPG down, and you see, FreeSat, and also the Sky one, which is even better to use because you get access to the Series Link features of Sky, the Sky EPG.
Right.
And it's basically all built into the server in this build, and literally it's a click of a button, to set up the EPG, and then it populates the EPG, and you've got your EPG all there.
Oh, that's quite nice. So you can mix sort of tuner types. So you're mixing DVB-C and DVB-T. Yes,
that's what I'm doing. And as I said, it's pretty easy to match up the channels. It's a guided system. So you go in. The easiest way to do it, you go to your DVB-T tuner because that has less channels, and it'll suggest the duplicate channels on the other tuners by the name, and most of them have got a similar name, and it works via a percentage of accuracy. So if it's exactly the same name, you're going to get 100% match, and then you can match them up that way, and you can literally do it in minutes. So once that's set up, you can set up your tuner priorities and things like that, and you're good to go.
Mm. So, and then does it then, so you say sort of tuner priorities, so it can sort of detect that this is a HD channel and it picks that one over the sort of standard ones, that kind of thing?
Well, for example, in my case, I've got two of the Freeview tuners and one of the satellite tuners, so I can set it up to prioritize the Freeview one because that has less channels on, so it will record on those first, and then it will free up the satellite tuner that will have extra channels that may not be on the Freeview one. So, for example, if there's some more little obscure channels on FreeSat that are not on Freeview, it will interrupt my viewing of that because I can still use that. But the other great feature about it is that you can actually record more than one channel off the same tuner if it's on the same transponder. I know you mentioned it last week on the show that I tweeted about it. At one point I was recording two HD channels, two standard def channels, and I was also watching live TV. So there's 5 streams going, and I've only got 3 tuners.
Yeah, that's what Gary was interested in. Yeah. So how does that work? So it's recording the whole transports, because I guess maybe not everybody knows, but maybe you can explain it. DVT has sort of broadcast these blocks of channels.
That's right, yes. So basically, they're in blocks of channel on different transponders. So different frequencies, which they're called transponders, will contain a certain amount of channels, and they tend to be sort of related channels. So a lot of the BBC channels will be on one, and then ITV ones will be on another, and like Channel 4 and stuff like that. So, for example, on Freeview, all the HD channels are all on, I believe, are all on the same transponder. So, theoretically, if your PC has got enough of if it's hard, if you've got enough power behind yourself, yeah, exactly. Theoretically, you should be able to record every single Freeview HD channel at the same time, just using one tuner,
right,
which can obviously be quite useful.
Yeah, definitely. So that you get you can have got much more use out of your tuners than if it's recording sort of 4 channels at once. But like you said, I guess it's just you need a machine, especially for the HD channels, that's going to be able to have the disk access and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, I've been using it for about a week now. I wouldn't say it's definitely an enthusiast product. I wouldn't say you can give it to your mum and dad and and they let them set it up themselves and everything, because there's a little bit of tweaking to do. But obviously, people like us and people who listen to the show probably wouldn't be much of a challenge. As I said, the setup isn't too bad, but there's a couple of little tweaks depending on the tuners that you've got. For example, I ran into a small issue with I used my tuners are TBS tuners, and I ran into a small issue with my satellite tuner failing whenever my Freeview tuners would kick in. And after about, it took me about a day of Googling and going to the media portal forums, I figured out that it was a matter of, with those particular tuners, I had literally had to put the preload the Freeview tuners, and then everything was okay. Everything would work fine.
Right.
It's little niggles like that so it might put off somebody who's not really who just wants something to install and just work. But people like us, it's no issue at all.
Yeah, and there's that kind of challenge to say, yep, I'm recording 10 channels at once. What's on? Nothing. Never mind.
Yeah, and it nearly drove my wife to divorce for the last week trying to set it up, because I kept fiddling with it and stuff. Which, but now she's absolutely loving it. Because there's another great feature of it as well, is you've got the media center remote is totally compatible with it. There's even actually features in the setup where you can set it up to work with specifically with the media center remote. It'll even disable media center background services for you in the setup to stop those interfering with it, and it will redirect the green button to boot up Media Portal. It'll boot it right up for you instead of Media Center.
So you're running Media Portal on a Windows box?
Yeah, it's Windows only actually. Media Portal.
Right. I thought I had in the back of my mind it was Linux, but it's not. It's Myth, isn't it? That's Myth TV that's for Linux. Yeah.
Myth TV is the main Linux one, but yeah, Media Portal is originally a port of XBMC,
right.
But it's only been released for Windows. And it's probably because the tune support is a lot more advanced in Windows, which I found myself when I was trying out different things.
Yeah, with that's the issue, isn't it? The tuners.
It's hard. Yeah, and I've got to say, it's probably the best way to describe Media Portal. It's probably like a hybrid of Media Center and XBMC. Because you've got very good plugin support as well, which I can quickly go into in a bit. But there's some really good features of it. But from the TV side, it pretty much does what Media Center does, and more really with the multiple recordings and things. It's very, very useful. And the EPG, as I said, is pretty easy to get. You can either, if you get the standard installation, you can pull the FreeSat EPG, for example, or the Freeview one very easily, because it's got a built-in EPG grabber. So, for example, if you didn't want to go down the custom build route, you could just set it up to pull a FreeSat EPG, which will get you the main FreeSat channels, and whatever's not on FreeSat, you can set up very easily just to pull from the Freeview EPG. So I'm very, very pleased with it, and I think I'm going to stick with it, to be honest with you.
So I suppose it does the other stuff as well. Then if it's come from XBMC, sort of, I think like videos and music and the kind of other things that you would do with XBMC. Yeah,
it's very similar. Obviously, coming from a port of XBMC originally, it's very similar in terms of plugins. It's got, for example, I've got it mine set up. I will eventually get a post out with some screenshots, but I've got it set up. It's got custom logos for the channels, for example. It's a plugin that you can literally set up in 2 minutes, and once it populates your EPG, you get sort of like iPhone style little icons next to the your channels, which looks really nice. You can skin it very easily, like XBMC. There's different themes and everything. I'm currently just using the default theme, which is quite nice. It's like sort of media center-esque blue theme, but there's a couple of themes that will make it look a lot more like XBMC style, if that's what you prefer, or there's even one that's very, very similar to Media Center, Windows 7 Media Center, in terms of the fonts and the EPG looks very similar as well. So you've got that side of it. You've got the skinning side. You've got the sort of the GUI side. Then there's plugins. There's some really good plugins for web streaming. There's one called Online Videos, which is very similar to some of the XBMC stuff, where you get a big. There's literally hundreds of web streaming services that you can configure, and you can actually put in your own as well, including obviously for our UK listeners, all the UK streaming services are there. iPlayer. Right. ITV Play, Channel 4, 5, they're all there, and they don't use Flash, so they use a similar system to the XBMC way of doing things, where they just pull the stream directly. So you're getting a really good performance out of it, and you don't have to mess about at all. So I'm using that a bit. I'm using some plugins for movies and plugins for TV shows, which basically sort of replicate the sort of built-in stuff in XBMC, and can be very similar to the media center ones that you get, like what's it called? The media center one. Not My Movies, the other one.
Media browser.
Yeah, it's very similar to Media Browser in terms of you get all the fan art and all the data, the metadata and everything come through. And that's literally, those services have replaced, for me, what I was mainly using XBMC for. The difference between Media Portal and XBMC is it doesn't come out of the box with all the plugins, the codecs. So obviously, if you're running TV and everything on a Windows 7 box, then you can use the Windows codecs for the TV. But they do recommend some other a specific codec pack called SAF6. And if you're interested, just look on the Media Portal forums. It goes on about that, and it supplies all the basic codecs you need for MKV and stuff like that as well. And they're actually very good. I've actually stopped using the default plugin, default codecs now for TV as well as for video, and I'm using this pack. I'm getting very good performance out of it. Better than actually, to be honest, it looks better than some of the performance I was getting from live TV on Media Center.
All right. I mean, one of the questions we get in the chat room, because I think you've piqued a few people's interest with this now, is the EPG better, more reliable in a Media Center? Yes,
in my opinion, it is, because you're not relying on the web service, the Media Center one. You can get it in various ways as well. You can get it direct from the stream. So, for example, because I'm using the Sky one, the Sky one literally has EPG for everything on Sky. Even the channels, the really obscure ones that you don't get data for on Media Center, and you don't even get it on FreeSat, because FreeSat will only provide data for the ones that they officially list on their website. So I'm getting some really obscure channels with full of metadata, and you can also get some data for the radio stations as well, if you're wanting to. You can get that via the FreeSat EPG, because Sky, I don't think Sky supply the radio ones. But so yeah, to be fair, it is better. And if that fails for whatever reason, you still get you can still get it directly from the stream. But because there's various ways of getting it. So, for example, if you've got mixed tuners, you could decide you not want to bother with all the Sky one, and just you can use the Freeview EPG, and that will populate most of the satellite channels as well, the main ones at least.
Yeah, but like you said, the Sky one has got the series and or season information, which is something that Media Center doesn't always have, quite often doesn't have.
Yeah, and for that you need to use the particular build of Media Portal. But yes, then it gives you the option to use Series Link, so you can install that, and then you can click on series link and it basically records via the show ID instead of the title of the show or the date of the show. So it's a lot more accurate.
So it sounds like it sounds quite an impressive system then. So is it's just open source then?
Yeah, it's completely open source. I believe everything that goes into it needs to be open sources and plugins and things like that. And it's a really quite a nice community there, quite very helpful and everything.
Yeah, that's always a nice thing. I mean, that's the same with the media center community. But if you get a community with a niche product, you can often find it really helpful.
Certainly, yeah. One last thing that I've been using with Media Portal, which sort of sold it for me, is Netflix. They've got a Netflix plugin. It's not actually supported at the minute because I think the guy who was developing it has stopped developing it, but it still actually works with the latest stable build. And I found it very interesting to try because I'm a Netflix user and I've been using. I don't have Apple TVs or anything like that to run Netflix. I'm running it all on PCs, and as we know, Netflix are not the quickest to support the PC when it comes to its services, apart from obviously on the website. But the Netflix plugin is actually really good. It comes, you install it. It works. Well, there's one little caveat. It works with the US Netflix. The UK one I haven't tried, but in my experience before, when I've tried using these plugins that rely on the Netflix API, they don't tend to work very well with the UK version. But if you're running Netflix and you've got like a VPN or something similar, and you're getting just the US content, it's very handy because it ties into the API. And you can literally, it comes with its own web browser in the plugin. So basically, once you set it all up, you can go into it and it'll fire up its own. It'll minimize Media Portal, fire up its own custom web browser, which is pretty seamless. You don't even notice what it's doing. It looks like it's all all integrated. And not only that, is you can actually control the program with the remote, so you can pause it, fast forward it, you can stop it, you can when you hit the back button on the remote, it closes the browser down, takes you back to the menu, the Netflix menu in the plugin. It's amazing. But as I say, it only works with the US version. And one little thing that people may not have realized is you may or may not know that we don't have, in the UK, we don't have an instant stream for Netflix. So if you go to Netflix, even if you go on a VPN and you go to netflix.com US and you browse there or watch stuff on there via VPN, you don't get access to an instant queue. But because this ties into the API, you actually do get an instant queue. So I found that very handy. I can use like a third-party app to like instantwatcher.com or on the iPad, for example, and browse what I want to watch, tap add to instant queue, and then fire up Media Portal's Netflix plugin, and there's my queue. Boot straight into the queue, and I can watch the show. So
that's good.
It's very handy.
Yeah, so without that, you've got to think, oh, I'll watch that later and remember it, and then go back and browse and go through the categories and find it that way. You mean? But with this, you go straight to it.
Exactly. I found the category. The recommendations seem to. I found the search is a bit flaky on the plugin, but so that's, to be honest, the best way to do it is literally to use the instant queue feature, but that's enough for me because I can sit there with my iPad, load up the instant queue with what I want to watch. So for example, if you want to watch a TV show, for example, you can just add the whole show to the queue, and then you can browse the particular episodes via the plugin. So you only have to do that once, and then you've got the entire access to the entire show, and you can go in and watch different shows and come back out, go back in, and it's totally stable as far as I can tell.
Oh, that sounds really good. They're saying in the chat room that Media Center does have a habit of saying some episodes are repeats, which are not. And they're having the French EPG data, which must be interesting because he's put Les Simpsons. Well, yeah. Yeah, so you
Yeah.
do get the vagaries, but yeah, it sounds good. And like you said, I think it sounds like a system that you can tinker around with and really trying to get the most out of it.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So if you, at the minute, I'm gonna stop tinkering for various reasons, including my wife, because I think she doesn't want me to tinker a bit more. But it's all working totally stable now. As I said, it's on the sort of build of the actual stable release. I think it's 1.2.3 I'm on at the minute, but it's a custom build of that. But they've got an alpha out for 1.3, which adds things like color coded EPG and things like that. And they're also working on Media Portal 2. One thing I should mention is you get a total soft sled experience for TV shows, recorded TV, live TV, and everything like that via clients. But when it comes to the plugins and videos and things like that, that isn't soft sled. You basically have to install that separately for everything. But what they're trying to do with Media Portal 2 is make that a totally soft sled experience for all media. So you're basically going to get a database that will cover everything. So you'll get a TV server that will include all the plugins for the extra videos and things like that and music. And then it'll be totally like that. So that's why it seems to me at the moment it's a bit of a hybrid of Media Center and XBMC. When it looks like with Media Portal 2, they're going for more of the Plex approach, where you're going to get a centralized database for everything, and then you've got clients that will support all of that on their own.
I like the idea of that. So have you got a sort of dedicated machine, sort of headless machine that you're using to do the recording on?
No, actually now I'm actually using my main PC downstairs because I had a bit of a move around down here. I used to have the main PC pretty much headless, and then having two little net boxes running everything. But now actually we've moved rooms, so the living room is now where the main PC is. So it makes sense to use that because it's got a bit more grunt to it. So I've got that running the server as well as a client on the same machine. And then I've got in the bedroom, I've got a little net box running the just the client.
It'd be interesting to see if you could get how you could get that to some sort of other devices. So any way of getting sort of the live TV, recorded TV to Android or to iOS.
I believe they've got an Android app, I believe, and you can also get clients for the Popcorn Hour media streamers. They've got actual dedicated clients for Media Portal. I used to have a Popcorn Hour, but I never actually tried it back then. But yeah, as far as I know, the only clients you can get. So basically, the Popcorn Hour is the only client, or there might be another one as well, if I remember rightly, that basically give you like a soft sled experience. But they do have a web streaming service as well. It isn't as advanced as DVB Link or anything like that. I believe you can just get you can pick a stream or something like that. So in theory, you could get live TV to pretty much anything via the web stream service. But because it also records, all the recordings are they're not proprietary. You know, they record. I think it records in TS transport streams. You can, if you're running XBMC on, for example, a Raspberry Pi, you could point your recorded TV folder to your Raspberry Pi, and you'll have no problems watching all your recorded TV. And XBMC have obviously got plugins and stuff that will let you watch live TV streams. So in theory, you could run it that way. You're just missing the EPG really.
Oh, that sounds good. I mean, just saying in the chat room that you could use DV Link on one of the tuners and leave the other tuners for Media Portal. So you've got quite a lot of flexibility.
Oh yes, certainly, and I believe there's also I'm sure I read a post on their forums that there is some compatibility with DVB Link as well. So I think it will support DVB Link tuners. Although I can't see why you would want to, unless obviously your tuners are in another box. So for example, if you had media DVB Link on one box and you wanted to try Media Portal on another, there is a way of getting those to support the DV Link tuners. But I think then you would lose the functionality of the multiple recordings for the transport stream, because DV doesn't support that.
Yeah, you'd have to that it needs to be a media portal to do that. I found the Android version anyway. Well, a one that supports on Android. It's called AMP Droid, and it says it's a media portal remote for Android, and you can remote control it, browse, download, and stream media. So there's a free and a paid version. So it looks quite interesting. I'll show you in the chat room can see the video. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. So you can straight on with Android. That'd be quite good. That I quite like the idea of. I mean, that's why I use DV Link for is to get the live TV around the home. So I think I like that idea.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So it sounds a really interesting project, and I think it, like you said, it's a nice to sort of tinker around with it, because I know. But even before you're doing this, you were doing a lot with XBMC. So I suppose it's the thing, just being able to get the little plugins working, and I suppose there's a good amount of development being done as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's very, very active. It's it's as active as from I can tell as XBMC. Obviously, being a Windows only product as well, you might not get the diversity of people working on it. But I mean, the support there, as I said before, is very, very good. And there's as I said, they've got two different alphas on the go. They've got they're still constantly updating features for the original media portal, and obviously working on number 2, which is a total rewrite to get this Plex style centralized database working. So I can see it going on for quite some time with development, and one of the frustrations that us as media center users have is that we're not seeing that happening anymore. So this is I think it's a very nice alternative.
Yeah, and I suppose it'll work with Windows 8 as well.
It does. I believe there's some issues at the moment in terms of the tuners and things. But I think it's definitely looking to get it up and running on Windows 8. From what I've read in the forums. So obviously they need to, being a Windows product, it's something they're going to need to do to keep. But you can run it. People even got Windows X running great on Windows XP. Because you don't technically need all the codec support that's built into Windows 7. They do recommend you use Windows 7 because there's there's obviously a lot of enhancements in Windows 7 in terms of hardware acceleration and things like that, and drivers and stuff. Yeah. But if you've got an older machine and you're not wanting to run loads of HD content, you can run it on Windows XP. But I mean, Windows 7 is going to be here for a long time, and that's what I think the main thing they're looking at. But I mean, they will be supporting Windows 8 definitely.
Well, I think I'm going to have to give this a try, because I like the idea of being able to tinker around with it, and perhaps to do something a bit different with it, because it's got the Skybox doing the sort of the reliable sort of family stuff. Like I can perhaps have a bit more room to tinker around and do some things like this, recording the transport stream and playing around with that kind of stuff. Now it's not the be all end all if it crashes. Yeah,
definitely.
That's the only problem you've got, I guess. But that's what you just have to say to your family. Well, that's what you get for being with someone that's on the bleeding edge.
Yeah, they're used to that one.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you say, well, once I've got it working, you'll get the benefit.
Yeah, and like I said, she's happy now because we've got it all. It's all working great, and my wife uses Netflix quite a bit as well, and she's really happy that it's she doesn't have to faff about with because we used to have to use the website, and although I was using Hippo Remote app on the iPhone to control that, which works quite well, but now it's all integrated into one app. But she doesn't need to come out of XBMC to do this and go into Media Center to watch telly. She's really happy with it now. She can just switch the telly on. It's already up and running. She can watch recorded TV. She can watch live TV. She can watch one of her films, or she can fire up Netflix. So she can't really complain too much.
No, I think that's the thing because currently on my system, if you want to watch Sky, you've got to go on Sky. If you want to watch a DVD, you've got to go onto Media Center and change HDMI channels and change the up to, the audio output, and having it all together in one thing actually does make a better experience.
Yeah, and this is what I was striving to do, but it was a very frustrating experience because, especially if you throw Netflix into the mix. If I wanted to go the Linux route, there's no Netflix support in Linux, so I'd have to think about, do I get an Apple TV? And then I've got to obviously, like you said, change inputs and things like that. And this way, I can stay on Windows, which is what I would prefer for media, because the support is a lot better. And I've got the ideal situation now that I don't need to even come out of the actual software that's running. It'll do everything that we need as a family to watch everything.
Yeah, I think it sounds good, and I'm definitely going to give that a go. So where's if anyone wants to get started, where's the best place to go?
If you you can go do a search for Media Portal, but I believe, let me just have a quick look. I think it's mediaportal.org, I believe. Let me just check. Oh, sorry, www.team-mediaportal.com.
Right.
And that'll take you to the main website, and then there's a forum there and everything like that, and the download section, and lots of information. There's wiki entries, and everything's there. Documentation a lot. You can't go wrong.
Excellent. Right. Well, that looks really good. I'll include a link in the show notes, and we'll have a look at that. So that's been keeping you busy, I guess, then.
Yes, it has. Yes, but now it's finally there. So now I can actually get back to looking at my Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
So I've not touched that for a while.
How are you finding that then? When you were on it?
Great. Yeah, it's coming along nicely. I've yet to try the new build, the Raspbian build. I tried one of the early alphas of it, and it worked okay. There was a few little niggles with it, but I'm keen to try that because the XBMC sort of builds, they're great. The problem is with that, the guy who's doing Raspberry MC, he's constantly working on it. By the time I think, I'll get around to trying it, he's doing another one. So I've never had a chance to install it, because every time I look at it, he's building a new build, and I think, I'll wait for the next one. And he's now doing, I think he's doing RC4, which is he's building that off Raspbian. So you get the benefit of the hard float for the CPU and everything. And so once he's got that, I think I'll give that a go. But I'm looking to try something different with it. I'm not sure what, because like I said, I'm pretty sorted in terms of sort of media streamers and media boxes now. So there are some limitations to the Raspberry Pi in terms of that. So I'm looking for ideas of what to do with it, to be honest, for other things. I might just eventually, what I'm hoping to do is get it set up and let the kids have it to have a go with. Just get it in their room, say, and have it for their things, because they tend to use they're young, but they're pretty good on stuff. They get into everything, like the iPad. They've got their own tablet. They've got the Andy Pad. I got that for them, and they seem to prefer using the iPad. Sorry, Andy Pad, but it's true. But I'm looking to get back into that a bit. That's the next thing when I get a little bit of time.
Yeah. Oh, it's good to tinker around with that. I've been trying different. I think I've got about 8 SD cards with different images on there, all trying different stuff, OpenELEC and all sorts. I found though it's a bit frustrating, because you get the great media playback on XBMC, but you don't get the sort of flexibility of having the standard desktop stuff, and then on VLC on the standard desktop doesn't play as well as sort of when you're in the native XBMC. So I end up swapping a lot of SD cards around. Yeah,
that's true, but at least we have that option where it's as easy as like the old school disk, floppy disk situation. Like on an Amiga, you have different disks for different tasks. So that's one good side of it. So you can actually, it's sometimes, because of the limitations of the hardware, you're probably better off having dedicated builds of Linux for different tasks in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're going to our user group meeting in September, aren't you? You bring something with you?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what I'm going to bring. I'll bring my Raspberry Pi. I'm not sure what I'm going to have with it, but worst case scenario, it'll be there for somebody to take with for the day. So hopefully I'll have something exciting to show. But there's so much going on with Raspberry Pi. I can think of anything totally original to bring along. So worst case, I'll donate it for the day so there's people to kind of have a play.
Well, you can always get Quake going. I got that going a couple of days ago. Quake 3.
All right.
Not that I'm much of a gamer on that, but there you go. It's something. It's one of those things, and it's a challenge to do, and I've eventually got it to work.
Yeah, proof of concept, isn't it? I think I'm looking forward to the Risk OS stuff. That's caught my interest to see how they got on with that, because Linux, I'm a Linux user anyway, so to me, I use one of my machines is completely Linux, one where I'm using right now actually. So I do tinker with Linux quite a bit. So to me, having a Linux distro on the Raspberry Pi, it doesn't excite me as much as maybe trying something new. I think, and also I think somebody's got Android running on it now as well, which when I was reading the forums, I think they've got Gingerbread sort of running on the Raspberry Pi, so that would be interesting to get running.
Yeah, especially if you can get some apps working on it.
Yeah, I think that would be a nice, it might not be the fastest in the world, but I mean, if you can get ice cream sandwich, which is technically possible from the specs that I've been reading on the forum, it would. I think they're waiting on the Broadcom drivers being updated or something like that, or to get ice cream sandwich running. But I mean, to get some of the apps, for example, if they figure out a way to get the Netflix app working, that'll make a nice little Netflix streamer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the one thing that I think is kind of missing. Really, you can get some like iPlayer working and lots of other stuff, but no Netflix because they're using Silverlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if there's a way around that capturing the stream, like you said, other projects have done, then that would be good.
Yeah, well, if obviously Android has its own Netflix app, so in theory, if they can get it to run, then it'll bypass all the Silverlight stuff anyway. So it'll depend whether somebody clever can get that going. But I mean, it is a frustration with Netflix because it's so limited in terms of it's relying on Silverlight, which isn't getting much attention these days anyway from Microsoft. So with a bit of luck, they'll switch to HTML5 or something similar and then get some DRM working with that. Then everybody will be happy then.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. But like I said, it's good fun. I mean, I've done quite a bit of tinkering about with sort of getting the Spectrum emulator and the BBC emulator working, and it's just nice. It's just nice to be able to have something to play around with like that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I'll think of something to do with it. Yeah. I've got a bit of time coming up, so hopefully I'll get something going on it.
Now, before we wrap up, I just wanted to go through a few of the news items from the blog from last week. So I'll whiz through some of those. So I don't know whether you're a Hotmail user, but you can now be an Outlook.com user.
Interesting.
So that just came out today. They kept that quiet actually, but now you can go to, if you're a Hotmail user, you can go to Outlook.com and there's a new Metro style email client, and you can even register Outlook.com email addresses. So now's a good time to do it now before they all go. Yeah,
that's nice. I think it's about time. Hotmail always seemed like a strange. I know, obviously, it wasn't. It was. I think Microsoft purchased that, didn't they? At one point, it's a very strange name to have, isn't it? Back in the day maybe, but now I think it's about time they've sort of centralized everything and standardized everything, and that's the way they're obviously going with Windows 8. So it would make sense for them to start doing this with a lot of their peripheral sort of services that they've got. But an Outlook, everybody knows what Outlook is, so it totally makes sense.
Yeah, so I've grabbed a few Outlook.com email addresses because you can have them forwarded automatically to whatever your current address is.
Right, I'll have to have a look at that then.
Yeah, you have to get yours quick. Surface tablets to ship 26th of October. That a few bloggers spotted in some sort of Securities and Exchange Commission filing that Microsoft published that said that these Surface tablets will be available on the day of the Windows 8 launch, which is October 26th. So, what's your thought of the Surface? You interested in trying one of these?
I'd like to have a look at one. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the way, they've totally got it right. Microsoft has got, Windows 8 before the launch, the announcement of the Surface. People, and still, so there's some people who are still saying, oh, they're not going to bother or whatever. And I can understand that point of view. But I think this will definitely, hopefully it'll be a success, and it'll highlight some of the advantages of Windows 8, and having the ARM version come out, and and I think a lot of people seem to be more keen on that than the Intel version. It'll depend what it's going to come in. I think the price is going to be an issue. It needs to come in at a decent price, because if it comes in at more than the next iPad, then they're going to struggle, because they've got to get people used to this way of working, and then they've also got to get people to not go for an iPad, at the same time. But if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, then it makes total sense to go this way,
And they're competing against the Android tablets like the Nexus, £159. It's difficult.
It is difficult, and you got yourself one, didn't you, Ian? And to be honest, I'm tempted to get one this year at some point, because it looks like a nice device, and I'm always. The problem with iOS, unless you mess about with it, there are certain limitations. And if Google can come in with a product like this, and it looks like it's been very, very successful so far, to grab that market share on that size, it makes total sense to go that way. To be honest, if you don't want to be tied into Apple, I've got an iPad and an iPhone basically because they were probably at the time the best products to buy if I wanted a tablet and I wanted a smartphone. But I'm very keen to see the offerings that are coming along from Google and Microsoft, because I'm very tempted in switching over the next time I need to upgrade my phone, for example.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone onto the Android phone as well, and this Nexus is a very nice device. It is really smaller, so it's not quite as nice as the iPad. But then again, you can fit it in your pockets just about, and you have got a bit more flexibility. So I do like it. Mm-hmm. Also, this week, Microsoft published information on the new Wedge keyboard and Wedge mouse that's coming out for Windows 8. Look quite nice, actually. I suppose if you're a Surface user, you won't need one because you've got those really nice looking sort of magnetic Surface keyboards, but they should go well with other slates that maybe come out. But they've got Charms keys on there and everything else, Bluetooth, and look quite nice, designed for tablet use.
It looks very nice, actually. I'm just looking at it now, and it's. I like the size of the real estate of the keys. You're not wasting any space there, but it looks very, very tidy and very, very metro.
Yeah,
it's weird, isn't it? The actual keyboard looks quite metro. The one, especially the one at the top there.
Yeah, that's the Touch Wedge one, I think, or the Wedge one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes sense to have all the charm keys on that now, because that's where we're going. And I like the new Windows key. Looks interesting.
It's going to take a while to get used to, I think. But yeah, it looks quite nice, and I think the hardware is going to be the key, isn't it? That they've got to have hardware that like the Surface that really stands out and can compete with the quality of the hardware that Apple are producing.
Oh, definitely.
They can't leave.
Just saying, Microsoft have always made good keyboards and things, so yeah. I'm not surprised that they've come out with this sort of product. It's definitely good quality.
There was a new app that launched this week as well from Windows Media Center. So funny we mentioned Media Center and not seeing much development. Well, there was something new. There's a new Caller ID app. This looked quite interesting. So it's a Caller ID service effectively that you run on your machine, and there's a client for Media Center, and there's a client for there's a client for XBMC as well. And I think it even works with if you got it inbound, you can even link it up via the Bluetooth to your phone, to your mobile phone.
Oh, right, that's interesting.
So you get the Caller ID. I presume Media Center, if you've got a Bluetooth receiver, sees itself as a sort of a Bluetooth headset, and then could answer the call for you or drop the call, but you can see who's calling. So I think because the caller ID thing always seemed a good idea to me in the past, but I don't really use a landline anymore. So I think that's a good idea.
I was going to say that not as many people use a landline, and I'm sure there's even a lot less people with a landline plugged into a modem on a. Do we even have modems on motherboards these days?
Yeah, that's right.
And especially onto a media center. So, but this makes total sense. The Bluetooth connectivity to a mobile that makes great sense, I suppose.
Yeah.
If your phone's not right next to you and you're watching something, then at least you know something's happening.
Yeah. So I think I forget how much it was now, about $11 or something like that. But there's a free trial available as well.
Nice.
A couple of bits and pieces. The iOS podcast app has been updated for the iPad and the iPhone. So if you're listening to the show via that app, I think they've improved the performance and stability. So you can give that a try. It seems to be quite a nice app, actually. I tried to download it because I use Android at the moment for listening to podcasts, but I did try the iPad one. It seems to work quite well.
Yeah, to me, I did try it, but I haven't used iTunes on my iPhone for podcasts in a couple of years. I've always used one of the third-party apps. I'm currently using Pocket Casts, which is really good. But I think I must have bought every single one and tried them all. They've all got pros and cons. And when they first released this one for the Apple one, which is long overdue, I found it was very, very buggy and very, very lacking. Hopefully this will improve it a bit. It's great for obviously people like ourselves who do podcasts, and because I think it'll help maybe get them a bit more promotion going for people who say, "Oh, what's a podcast?" And you get people looking at that. Especially, I think it's going to come in pre-installed, isn't it, on the next iPhone? I believe. Because they're going to take it completely out of iTunes. Because it's still part of the music app. If you go into the music app, all your podcasts are still there. It's just the front end for that. That's probably why it's not great. And I really don't know why they haven't just gone whole hog and because if third parties can do such a decent job, why they haven't done that. But it can only be good for podcasters. I don't think the experience is fantastic for the consumer yet. Whereas there's a lot of better products out there for iOS that'll do it. But for podcasters, it's great. But let's hope they just keep developing it and not stop. Because basically, before this, they hadn't changed anything to do with podcast management on iTunes since the click wheel iPod. It was still designed for a device that you plug in and you load up your iPod with your podcasts, and then you go away. It was never updated for the wireless internet connected devices since the iPod and iPhone and the iPod Touch. So it's good to see that they're starting to go in that way, but I think they've got a lot of work to do still.
Yeah, definitely. And another one that would be good for Media Center users is there's a Microsoft Fix-It fix, for one better word, Fix-It blog or a Fix-It service that they have is where there's registry settings and they have a button basically that allows you to sort of just press the button and it does the fix automatically for you. One that they issued last week was for Media Center, where it will fix, they describe it as erroneous weak error message in Windows Media Center. So if you're using Media Center and you get a message saying that the signal is too weak, it could be an error, and there's a Fix It and a knowledge base article on how to fix that.
Right, yeah. So that's basically reducing the sensitivity of the tuner, because there's a different tune. I've seen that issue before. There's different tuners of obviously different or various qualities, and some will output a different level of connectivity to the stream. So yeah, that's a good idea because it always errs on the side of caution, doesn't it? With that, and at least this way it'll attempt to give you the stream anyway. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So so there are the instructions, so you can go and change the registry setting yourself, or you can just use the little button to fix it for you.
Nice.
So an update for Windows Media Center. I think that's pretty impressive.
It is, yeah.
There's someone there. And finally, I just want to mention Gary last week talked about JRiver, and he has got his review out of JRiver, so you should be able to I'll include a link for that in the show notes. But he talked about it last week, and he's posted his review on that. And I think he's also posted some news he just did the review, and then I think they announced the next version pretty much the day after he published the review. I think it was the day after, actually. Yeah,
That's typical.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I'm seeing quite a lot of interest in that as well. So there is a lot of interest to all these different platforms, which is good to see. Perhaps we're not talking about general mass population, but we are seeing small niches of enthusiasts getting together and sort of working on these projects.
Definitely, it needs to happen. We need to know that there are options out there. We all we have our preferences, but it's good to know that if things do go the way of the dodo on certain platforms, that we've got other options.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing is, things change so rapidly in this area that even if Microsoft were planning to release another version of Media Center in Windows 9 and it was 3 years off or whatever, the technology changes so fast in that between time that you really need something that's got a much faster turnaround.
Definitely.
Excellent. Well, it was really good to talk to you. I'm glad we managed to sort this chat out, because I know I've been interested in following what you've been doing on Twitter for a while on this stuff. So thanks very much for coming on and talking to us about that.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
So where can people follow you and find out what you're working on? Because you've got quite a lot of good stuff on your Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. The best place to look for me be on Twitter would be under @Dangelus. That's DANGELUS. And I've also got a website which I've got various little bits and pieces. I do an irregular podcast on various geeky subjects, and I've got a little bit of a tech blog going. But if you go to, very easy to remember, www.dangelus.com, it'll take you to all my various online endeavors.
Excellent. I'll include links for all that in the show notes as well. Well, it was great. Thanks very much for joining us today. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. So we'll see you in person hopefully in September.
Yeah, plan on it.
And keep up the good work, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll follow your exploits on Twitter.
Cheers, Ian.
Okay, great stuff. So thanks to everybody in the chat room. Although I think they've
all gone.
They've all gone now. Yeah. I think it times out. That's the chat room after a bit. So yeah. I'll stop the stream. So thanks for that.